Doom Eternal can be quite a fun video game when it isn't trying to be two other things, namely frustratingly condescending and pointlessly convoluted. It is trying to be a different kind of game, a different kind of Doom, one that isn't what you would call necessarily Doom-ish in its nature, one that sort of understood the idea of Doom 2016 and of the previous ones and just went in the wrong direction. It went in the direction of a fanboy, one that really likes Doom but doesn't get it. And this is really very well shown in the way that the Doom Slayer is described in this game. From the moment you see him, it's a different take on this character. You see his face. He is a person. He speaks only a few words, but in those words, he is totally and irrevocably destroyed. From an iconic character, from the personification of rage and violence and fury and anger, from an elemental force, from something so horrifying that hell itself sealed him away instead of trying to kill him. From a god among men, he's turned into a joke, into just some guy with an ego to stroke, who collects toys and has a shelf of guitars in the shape of axes and weapons on his walls and reads magazines on a throne. The game makes its software makes the mistake of conflating the character of the Doomslayer that they so well envisioned in Doom 2016 with a fan of the Doom video game. Because that is who you are playing in Doom Eternal. It is not the Doomslayer, it is not the person that woke up from a slab of stone, entombed there for unknown ages, and then proceeded to destroy any demon he found on the planet Mars and in Hell. You're playing as you. You, if you were the Doom guy. You're a pale reflection of that iconic character. What I'm saying is you're playing Raiden in Metal Gear Solid 2. I know he looks just like the Doom guy, but you're no longer him. You no longer occupy him. The game routinely moves you outside so you can see him, so you can see how cool you are as the Doom guy. And all over the place you will hear how cool the Doom guy is. The real Doom guy didn't need that. He wouldn't have any use for that. In his stoic demeanor, if you could call somebody with that much rage stoic, guess not, but in his insular behavior, in his complete focus on a single task, he was a much better character. Now that you know that he's just some guy who collects records, he's just some video game character, it just doesn't work. They turned the Doomslayer, the 2016 Doomslayer, into Duke Nukem. Okay, so the painting with the rabbit, that's beautiful, but everything else just kind of ruins the character. They took somebody who was cool. I mean, you've played Doom, you've seen Doom, you know the Doomslayer was cool, right? And they turn him into some phony, some tryhard, some fake, somebody who needs to show the world that he is cool. Look at all the guitar axes I have on the wall, look at all my toys, I have a throne room, I am cool, aren't I? Please say so that I'm cool. He's not. Not anymore. They ruined him. They uncooled him. Nothing is more uncool than a tryhard. And that's what he is now. Stylistically ruined. I know this is a minor thing to most people, something that will not matter, but to go from a character whose simple hand gestures told you so much about who he was in the previous game to a guy shouting rip and tear and guts, need more guts, it does a disservice to this character. It does a disservice to the player whose ego is being stroked by conflating him with the character. I know that the first one, you were the Doom guy, you were the Doom Slayer, but there was always that separation there. There was always that sentiment of awe, if you will, of astonishment at the character. And that is replaced here by ego stroking, by constant self-aggrandizing. Probably doesn't help. The story is kind of needlessly convoluted, not all that greatly told, especially the first bits, and does its darndest to shoehorn in Doom 64 and every other Doom game that came before it in ways that aren't all that satisfying. But anyway, it's a Doom game. Who plays them for the story and the characters? We play Doom, for the gameplay. The gameplay that is, as I've said in the beginning and probably in the title, frustratingly condescending and pointlessly convoluted. For this game, they decided to go a different route with how it flows, opting for something that takes you from one enemy to another, chainsawing them so you can get more ammo because you have a very low maximum ammo count that really barely increases with all the power-ups you can acquire over the course of the game. That is a bit contradictory to the idea of Doom. Doom was, at its core, an exploration game, the first ones I mean. You would go out and seek weapons, seek ammo, seek power-ups, seek health, seek everything you could find that will help you endure that next battle that would have otherwise been your ending. This game still does that. You do have the extra lives, but those aren't really satisfying in the same way that finding a shotgun on level 1 was in Doom 2, for example. Not as satisfying as being able to save up your ammo for a big fight, because you can't save up your ammo. All the ammo that you can ever have equipped on a weapon is 2 chainsaws away from being there already. There's no point in finding ammo if you're full with ammo already. You won't get anything. Well, you will get a blood punch if you find extra health and extra armor if you're full, but if you've got full ammo, there's nothing. It'll remain there unused. You're actively being discouraged from exploring, especially once you have most of the upgrades you've wanted and don't really care about the extra life system, because in some difficulty modes you don't really have that anyway. Just increasing the ammo cap a bit would have really helped, would have made you be a bit more frugal, think a bit more tactically. Try your best to actually keep ammo for certain weapons, but the game won't really let you. And this is quite obvious in the way that it treats its special weapons. The BFG, the Unmaker, which is an upgrade of sorts, or an alternate mode of the BFG if you will, and that sword thing that you get almost near the end. Those you can only use if you have ammo for them. In the case of the BFG, you can carry 2 charges. In the case of the sword, you have 3 charges. The game encourages you to only use them when you see a charge available on the map. Only then can you freely use that weapon, because if you don't then that charge, that's gonna go to waste. You can't take it with you if you're already full. And absolutely nothing exemplifies how broken, or at least how pathetic, this idea is in terms of gameplay than the final boss battle. One where you don't have to be frugal at all. You don't have to try and find charges for your sword or for your chainsaw, because they're everywhere. They respawn constantly. Sure, not for the BFG, but for the limited use weapons that you can use to pretty much murderize everything other than the actual boss, they're everywhere. They're unlimited. They go directly in opposition to everything else that the game has taught you up until that point, which is what makes the final boss battle, even though it can take you half an hour if you don't play that well, an absolute blast to play. It is the highlight of the game, the absolute best part of it. It is exemplary of how good Doom Eternal can be when the bullcrap of its limited ammo system isn't a factor, where you can go all out, where you can absolutely destroy the enemy, but at the same time you can be monumentally crushed by them. But the rest of the game, you will always have that thing in your mind saying, should I use this now? Maybe I'll need it later, but later, hey, oh look, the game wants me to use this now because there's the ammo for it. It's condescending because the game is made so that you will use these weapons in very specific scenarios. They're not there so that you can use them whenever you want to. Like all the other weapons, they're treated differently, which they shouldn't be. You are limited in how you can use them. You can't simply use them whenever. You can't hoard the ammo and then just unleash them as you see fit. You might say, well, if you could do that, then the game would be very easy. Well, it wouldn't, because it would mean that you have to go through some portions of the game without ever using them, making it harder on yourself. This option, like it used to be in the olden times, put it upon you, the player, to decide your own fate in that way, to decide when it's gonna be frustrating, or if it becomes frustrating, whereas Doom Eternal can often be, quite often. Oh look, I was having fun, it was amazing. Oh, I'm out of ammo. Better go chasing some infinitely spawning wealth that I can't even punch. Oh, by the way, the Doom guy now has a serrated blade on his arm, but somehow he only uses that for the glory kills. His punches mean nothing. I would have sworn that in Doom 2016, his punches actually meant something. It's also kind of sad that it really delays the Berserker power-up demonstration. It's probably hidden somewhere in every level and I haven't found it, but the only one I have found was halfway through the game, whereas in Doom 2016, it was front and center right at the start, and it served very well to introduce you to the potential of this character's rage. Here, you see it more in the reaction of people around him. He is defined now by the people around him instead of who he is by his actions, becoming the lesser. One other game that kind of felt as condescending was, if you remember it, the Syndicate game. The one that looked great in the trailer but turned out to be kind of crap. It had one section where you would get the rocket launcher, and man, that was a rocket launcher. You could shoot it and things would explode. It was amazing. You got to use it in a rocket launcher test facility, and when you left there you had to put it back and never use it ever in the rest of the game. That's where you get to have fun. Don't dare have fun the way you want to in the rest of the game. Now sure, you could cheat. There's a lot of cheats in the game, but those don't let you actually progress further, which kind of defeats the point of cheating. But back to the frustration bit. A higher ammo cap would have been monumentally better. Also, it would have helped if the developers actually figured out what they wanted to make with these side weapons, with the equipment. For you see, in this game you have a melee which can be charged to become a blood punch, which will murderize most enemies, the smaller ones I mean, and later on even the big ones. You have a chainsaw that will, again, murderize small enemies, giving you ammo, and if you have 3 charges for it, it can murderize bigger enemies, giving you, again, ammo. Essentially, it's a glory kill, but it gives you ammo and health instead of just health. The blood punch just gives you health. The blood punch has to be charged via glory kills. The chainsaw can be charged, well, one charge regains itself with time, and for the rest you have to find canisters. Then you have your sword, which you pick up near the end, which has 3 charges and can kill pretty much everybody in one shot. Well, not everybody, but anyone. Well, not anyone. There's this character that's from a different game. That's from a dodge revolution kind of combat game that they put in Doom Eternal for some reason. He's not difficult to fight, it's just frustrating because he can summon a dog, and later on you fight him in very crowded areas where the ground keeps shaking constantly and he's getting, well, the Doom guy is being pushed in each and every direction by enemies that slither around, that throw things, that explode things. It can be annoying. But apart from those weapons, those melee weapons, you also have a flamethrower attachment and a grenade launcher that should have kind of been only one thing. For you see, the fire thing, you set enemies on fire and when you shoot them or damage them, they drop armor. The grenade thing shoots a grenade or a frozen grenade, which freezes them. What we have here is 3 melee weapons, melee powers I should say, and 2.5 equipment things. These could have all been rolled into just 2 entities. You could have just had the Blood Fist instead of the chainsaw. Yeah, no, the chainsaw is iconic, but what speaks more Doom in the context of the 2016 Doom guy? Him. His endless rage. Him punching through an enemy's head to reclaim life and ammo would have been better than just having the chainsaw and the big sword. He just had it attached to his arm, like the thing that's on his arm. Could have had that be the crucible and just have left the blood punch as the effect you were trying to achieve, but an upgraded blood punch. Instead of having 3 abilities that essentially are the same thing, you'd have had just one. It would have been less convoluted. You wouldn't have had to go hunting for ammo for them. You could have just had them be the blood punch, which requires you to actively murderize enemies for it to charge up, which is already what you're doing with the other ones. Well, no, with the sword thing, you have to find shards, power-ups, energy for it, meaning that you have limited use of it throughout the game. Apart from the final level where they're everywhere and it's actually fun. So the blood punch encompassing all of them would have been better. And the other one, well, you start off with the grenade launcher. You get an upgrade that lets it shoot a frozen grenade, and then you get the flamethrower. The flamethrower didn't need to exist. You could just have had the grenades, the normal everyday grenades, have an upgrade that shoots fire. They become incendiary grenades. You already have cryo grenades. Why not have incendiary ones? You could even keep the normal ones. Actually, no, don't keep the normal ones, because normal ones wouldn't really do much. You could have incendiary and cryogenic grenades. Problem solved. You don't need an extra button for that. You don't need to be that convoluted and have an upgrade tree, well, not an upgrade tree, but upgrade options for that specific piece of equipment. The upgrades in the game, by the way, are kind of lame, like really lame. They're not really meant to give you much, just little tiny bits of things, so that you'll come back and do the missions again and again and have daily bonuses and challenges that you have to complete to get the batteries, to get the upgrades, to get the armors, because this has that small lingering feeling of a game as a service. It doesn't fully go that way, thankfully, but it's there. It lingers. Well, all the stuff I've mentioned so far make Doom Eternal feel like a lesser game compared to the 2016 one, even though it tries to give me what I wanted from a sequel. It expands the lore, it tells me more about what's happening, about the angel that gave power to the Doom Slayer to slay the doom of mankind. It feels just kinda hollow. Wasn't really excited. Up until the end fight with the Icon of Sin, I was just hoping it would end soon. It wasn't joyful. But that end fight, that was actually good. Because again, it went against most of what the rest of the game was. Imagine having that much fun always, not having those limits, not having that frustration. Imagine it not being convoluted, no reason. This could have been a much better game. Not that it matters, it sold a bajillion copies, it's a big success. But hey, I had an hour or so I made this show. Also, I played the game. Didn't make a play now because kind of pointless. Play now is kind of a pointless kind of video format. Had a point at one time, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. I used to have hair back then as well. And all my blood and hopes and dreams and the future. All that's left is ghosts and ashes. And Doom Eternal. Oh, by the way, I just noticed something, like last week. You know, I wrote a book called Tale of Doom, right? I pimp it out at the end of every video. Well, I'm working on a sequel now. I've been working on it. It's been planned like for ages. The website's down, but you could see the plan on there. So the book is called Tale of Doom. The sequel is called, well, originally it was called The Eternal Empress. So Tale of Doom, The Eternal Empress, but I shortened it down to Tale of Doom Eternal, and it hit me last week that it's basically called Doom Eternal. So I'm just gonna call it Eternal now, I guess. I don't want to get sued. Bethesda does sue people a lot for stuff like this, so I don't know what psychics they have, but they've been really good at getting names from me, just like the people did when they made Rise of Nations. Well, the people that made Rise of Nations did when they made Rise of Legends. Because Tale of Doom was initially called Rise of Legends back in 2004. Then I had to change the name to Legend. That didn't really sound well, so Tale of Doom came up. It was a bit of the book, like a line in the book that, oh, this sounds good, I'm gonna name it this. then they made another Doom game, then they made Doom Eternal. I just hope they don't make a Doom Plane Chaser or something, or Doom End Times, because there's more books on the way. Hopefully if I ever finish them, I should probably get to work on that. But before that, before the ending of this video, I'll leave you with one question. What were your thoughts on Doom Eternal? Did you enjoy these changes that it made? Did you like the Doom Slayer becoming a parody of himself? Not even the tongue-in-cheek kind of, there's him with the bunny, let's actually put the bunny in the game kind of parody, but an funny kind of parody of himself. It keeps repeating that stuff from the comic. The first one started with Rip and Tear, but that's all there was. That bit in the beginning, it never came back up. This one just hammers it in constantly, incessantly. Okay, we get it. Leave a comment with your opinion, with your thoughts, with your hopes and expectations for this game, for this series even, where it may go from now on in the year 2024 or 2025. Or dare I say 2024 and 2025, because we don't use 2020 something abbreviations. That's what prime ministers do, the horrible kind. Goodbye everybody. Ignore the ramblings. Also stay safe. It's a thing outside that don't get too close to people that cough. Take care. Bye bye.